Welcome, America, to AmendmentOneRadio.com, where your First Amendment rights are still safe to say what's on your mind. Welcome, America, to another AmendmentOneRadio.com show here. So we're starting out the new year, and today I got a guest in the room with me here, and he can tell you who he is.
My name's Dan Scott. I'm an auctioneer by trade, and I'm just here to talk a little politics tonight. And hope you guys can join in the discussion by calling in, and we're ready to go.
Yep, definitely. So, yeah, we was having a couple of conversations earlier and stuff about everything from the guns and a couple other things, and it looks like that our good old president is up to the same old stuff, except only this year he knows that he's got 4 more years to really screw the American people and see how bad he can break it off in us this time. So, but now I got to give the man credit. It's just not him. It's the same thing with pretty much the vast majority of all the politicians. I said, especially with this last bill that he just passed, what really makes me laugh is the fact that you turn a bill in that's got, I think it's like 300 pages there. You hand it to the people to vote on 3 minutes before it's supposed to be voted, and you expect them to be able to read it. And it's just like, give me a break. Are you kidding me? But now here's the kicker to it. We've got all these wonderful Americans that keep voting these morons back in office that still lets them go in there and do this and have their heyday with the American people. To me, it just, it drives me crazy. To know that, here these guys are that are going to say, okay, well, hey, we're going to get through the physical cliff. We're going to pass this bill. And it's just like, they don't even know what was in the bill. And these are the elected officials that we're supposed to sit there and say, oh, well, they're going to do our country great. Well, in case people out there haven't noticed, our government, and it really gets me going, is the fact that $16 trillion in debt. Now, we've heard that same thing since the first year he was in office. So I know it's got to be more than that now. So, but we're going to keep throwing 16 trillion. But the best thing, what really gets me, is the fact that they go through all of this, they spend all of this, but yet the American people still want to sit there and let them do this, and we have to pay for it. We bail out Wall Street. We bail out the banks. So keep it going, folks. Guess what? We'll be bailing out more people too. So,
oh well, I just wanted to state a quote from Thomas Jefferson, and this is a quote: "I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies." End of quote.
Yeah.
And the large corporations in this country are destroying this country. And the greed that has overcome this country is also destroying it. The politicians are bought and sold by big money. Now, we need to impose term limits, number one. Those guys, the era of career politicians, have got to come to an end. One, they're too out of touch, they're too old, they're too rich, and they're too corrupted by the system. We need 2 terms, then you go back into private business, and you don't get a chance to get corrupted because you only got 2 terms, so you go there to get accomplished what you want to get accomplished. But these career politicians, that's why we have such strong gridlock in this country right now, because all these career politicians, they don't want to get anything done. It's my way or the highway.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, it really just blows my mind. And if most people out there haven't really been paying attention to anything going on here lately, Obama is, if I am mistaken, he either just passed this bill today or it's getting ready to be passed. But he put together a bill so that way the Secret Service will be with former presidents and their wives for the rest of their lives. And this is going to be retroactive from 1976. And this is how it's going to take in effect. Do you know how much money it costs for the Secret Service to sit there and put agents into those situations to where you've got a 24/7 watch over previous presidents? Now, he had to retroact it so that way he could make sure that he gets to be part of that too and gets maintained the rest of his life too. That just that's something that's actually really uniquely stupid. We have 2 terms for a president, but yet we got a lifetime of morons that we have to sit there and deal with that don't do a damn thing for the American people except sit there and come up with some kind of rule or some kind of new law that's going to sit there and take more rights, away from us at any given time. I mean, because hey, watch your gun rights. Let's see what happens here in the next couple of weeks. And the worst part about it is the majority of these shootings, the kids had mental illnesses. We don't want to touch mental illness, but we want to touch the gun companies because our agenda for government, in order for government to stay in control of a country, you disarm them. And it's just, it's happening. It's getting closer and closer every day. I can't wait to see what this executive order that Biden keeps tossing around that he's thinking that may come up. And so, it's just people, you got to get on the phones. You got to get on the faxes. You got to get on the internet. You got to start getting out there. You got to have your voices heard. You have got to sit there, call up your information numbers, get numbers to the White House, start sending faxes, start making phone calls. Let's blow up their lines. Let's blow up their fax lines. Let's spam them to death, bomb them on emails and everything we can possibly do. Of course, bomb's probably a bad reference, but, let's just blow up their emails. Let's send a message to them that sits there and states, hey, guess what, folks? We are pissed off. We are tired of you wasting our money and keep, spending like there's no tomorrow. So, I mean, it just totally blows my mind.
Well, these career politicians, they're addicted to pork. And there is so much money that is allocated to these senators to their states. And they get all this money, and then the money's not accounted for. And it don't go to where it's supposed to go. Now, if that was a business, it'd be out of business in about a week. And that's the problem with the federal government. We need to have oversight committees. We need to tighten up on everything. Any money that's allocated to any senator, to any state, it needs to be followed up on. We need to know where that money is being spent. Right now, we have no idea they don't even have any idea where the money goes.
No, it's just all about spend, spend, spend. Print some more money, guys. We can take care of it.
Exactly.
And it's just, it just totally blows my mind, because even, God, I think it was Gregory, Gregory, what's his name up there, who's one of the newscasters, did an interview with Obama and was actually getting under Obama's skin there because he was asking him, what about the government spending problem that we have? And he actually got pissed off at the guy and told him, he says, we don't have a spending problem. And he says, I don't know why people keep saying this, but we don't have a spending problem with government. And, I'm like, really? You're the president of the United States? We got more people that are living in the streets, that are living on welfare, that, have got their Obama phones. And, and this is the kind of stuff that we deal with. And it's just like, what do? Do you sit there and, do you try and make a solution to the problem, or are you the cause of the problem? And it's just, right now our government is the major cause of the downfall of the United States as we know it now.
I just will say this, that I've lived in Costa Rica and I've for 3 years, and I've lived in other third world countries. And what I've seen there, I am starting to now see in America, and it scares me to death. This country has real problems. And the next year and a half, everybody better just wake up. And like the host was saying, that we need to stand up and let our voices be heard. We need to just quit rolling over like a puppy and taking it. We got to stand up with our voice. We've got to get organized, and we've got to stand up to the corruption, to the greed that is going on in this country. Otherwise, we're all going to be living behind fences like they do in the third world countries. Oh, yeah. Anybody that's got anything in the third world country lives behind barbed wire fences and gates. I've seen it. I've lived there. I've seen it. And that's where we're heading to. Anybody that has anything is going to have to start living behind gates, because crime is going to get so rampant that and it's already exploding. They're just not reporting it on the news. And and here we are with this Second Amendment right. We're going to try and take our guns away, and we have that is the Second Amendment was the First Amendment. The Second Amendment was made to protect the First Amendment. Okay, that is our right. Thousands of military people have went to war and died for our way of life and our freedom, and we have to, as of Americans, to save the American dream, we have to stand up and start letting our voices be heard.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like I was talking earlier, where I sit there and I was telling them that, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh today, and he had a veteran that called in. He served 8 terms, Desert Storm and the Gulf War. And, and up until 8 months ago, he had just gotten injured. He lost part of his arm. He lost part of his leg. He had some disfigurement, and, the guy's been going through, basically real hell about it. And for him, I can understand how bad life would be, but, he sat there and said that, he listens to, Rush Limbaugh, he listens to some of the other talk shows and stuff, and he sees that the people on the talk radio shows and internet shows, are people that actually care about what's going on in this country, and that they're trying to sit there and make a difference. And he says, at that time, he says, yeah, it could have been easier for him to just go ahead and pull out a gun and shoot his brains out and get it over with. But the thing of it is that this man sat there and he made one hell of a tremendous point. He says, I went to the military because I believe in my country. He says, I wanted to serve for my country. And he sat there and also said that, something? He says, I'm a Marine. And he says, we don't back down. He says, and we move forward. And he says, we always sit there and make the best of the worst situation. And he says, I took an oath. And he says, and the worst thing that bothers me the most is the fact that the president took the same oath. He says, but I took mine seriously. He says, now why can't our president?
Yeah, and, President Obama is a constitutional lawyer, and they are trampling all over the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and everything. And he's a constitutional lawyer. For God's sakes, it just is beyond me why where we're at and where we're heading in this country, and it's very scary.
No, I mean, it scares the hell out of me. I mean, because with all the deficits and everything that keep going, I mean, the fiscal cliff, what we did, we put a Band-Aid on that, because in 2 months it's coming back. That's all we did to it. You've also got the debt ceiling at the end of February that's going to be right on top of us, but that's going to be like, oh my God, the government's going to shut down. We've got to get more credit rating. We got to get more. We got to do more of this. We got to do more of that, and it's just like, you've got everything from lotteries. You got everything from different fundings, different taxes. And for those of you that haven't really been paying attention, look at your paycheck this week. You're going to see that you're missing money. Well, guess what? Those so-called at the end of the month taxes, they're already in effect now. So, and and this is something that was pre-planned. It was already set in place. It just needed the right time and guideline to be put into place to make it start working. And so, now you've got more taxation, you've got less representation, and we got a government who wants to steamroll the American people, and they're dead serious.
Well, that's a good point. There's no taxation without representation. Do you people really believe you are being represented by the elected officials in Washington, D.C. today? Ask yourself that question. Are you being represented by the officials?
Ain't nobody.
Exactly. And it's the corporations that are that have bought and sold the politicians, and they've sold out to us. And they're all filling their pockets. And it just came out that, it was legal for congressmen and senators to do inside trading. Well, they come up with some little bill and they watered it down a little bit. It's still legal for them to do it. They're all enriching themselves and their friends, and they're not representing the constituency or worrying about the hardworking people out there that are really having a hard time. And it's just not the America I knew 25 years ago. This country is changing, and if we don't stand up and speak out, we're in for a real hard, ugly ride in the next 16 months.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're going to see a lot of stuff that's going to be happening here within the next 2 months. And, and the worst thing that I'm thinking about is when we reach the debt ceiling, are we going to sit there and say, okay, hey, China, we want to go ahead and borrow a couple more $1 trillion? And, because you got to remember, Obama came into office, we had AAA credit rating. Well, guess what? We're AA. If he brings it down to single A, then you people better sit there and realize real fast what he's getting ready to do. Because basically what he's going to do is devalue the dollar. When he devalues it, then that means that, hey, our debt becomes less across the board, but also it's going to be more costly to buy products. When we used to sit back and think, yeah, one of these days, you ever think about a $15 loaf of bread? Well, guess what? We're getting close to it.
Yeah, just like in Germany after World War II, it took a wheelbarrow full of money to buy bread, and through inflation, your dollar is getting eaten alive. Things are getting more expensive in the grocery store. Gas is, who knows where that's going to go. It sure is not going to go down. Everything is more expensive. Insurance, you can almost forget about getting sick in this country. I mean, there's no medical care. The insurance companies don't cover half the stuff that you're going to have problems with. The our medical insurance is almost a joke, and most people are paying $1,000-$1,500 a month for their insurance, and when they get sick, half of the stuff's not covered. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, because now that we're in 13, the good majority of Obamacare takes in effect. And, and it still blows my mind that, it's still considered Obamacare is something good, but the people don't understand it was ruled by the Supreme Court as an Obamacare tax deal. It wasn't, anything to where it was supposed to help us out because it was unconstitutional to be considered as a law. So they made it a tax. So now at the end of the year, if you ain't got this stuff straightened out, because in 2014 is when it's in full-fledged effect, and then in 2018 is when it finally takes its final leg of it, which is a 40% Cadillac tax on the insurance business. So, where do you think that the insurance companies are going to sit there? Do you think they're going to say, well, hey, we're going to help you out? No, they're going to raise everything 50 to 60%. So that way they can still make their money off of it because they're not going to lose the money out of it. And, and this is where, you think you're paying high now, already major corporations are already cutting people off because they have a certain quota that they have to stand by in order to pay insurance on. But if they go below their quota, then they don't have to. So, and this, I mean, is absolutely ridiculous, the way that this goes on.
Well, yeah, and I can almost guarantee you that we're going to have a huge doctor strike when this goes into effect. They're going to be overworked, overwhelmed, and there's kids that are in college right now that are deciding not to go into medical practice because of what's going on in the medical community, and we're going to have a shortage of doctors, and the doctors that we do have now. You can almost bet that they're going to be in the streets protesting and demanding, they're going to be worked to death, overworked, underpaid, and complaining. And so we got some real scary things that us as Americans really have to stand up and speak our mind and get together, and we really have to as Americans, we have to rise up against what's going on.
Yep. Everybody's got to say so. I mean, hey, if me, a construction worker, can go in here and get on the internet to where I can have a voice and say something, then, anybody and everybody else can. But, I'm only one person. My view as far as politics is a little bit different from everybody else because last time I checked, your Democrats, your Republicans, because of the fact that the politicians that are in our government How do you think we got our debt ceiling? Did we go out and pay for all the wars? Or did we go in there and put it on our credit cards and the government is having to pay for it? No. They went out, they made the rules, they broke the laws, they did what they wanted to do because they've got unlimited spending access. So they think. You know, we are ranked number 10 in the world. We are no longer the number one superpower. We are no longer within by the end of 2014 and beginning of 2015, China or Japan are going to be the number one superpower economically. And guess what? When that happens, we're done. I mean, we're going to see some of the worst things that we've ever seen as far as, that American dream of having that house with that white picket fence and the kids and the dog. You're going to go to work. You're going to do your 3 jobs. You're going to have to sit there and try and teach your kids because we spend more money in stupidity factor of government than we do trying to educate our kids because we have to keep the American people dummied down so that way the people up here in the political world that have the college educations that have been able to sit there and kind of get their bills taken care of. And, let's see. They also had a 28% pay raise that Obama just approved. So, you want to sit there and rub salt in the wound, and that's what the government's doing. Why sit there and help somebody and try and do something for the American people to bring the economy up? Instead, we want to sit there and just bust your chops and, sucks to be you, but, we're still government. We're going to make our money. We're going to do what we want to do. And nobody's going to oppose us. So, it just, it totally blows my mind that, even, as much as I listened to the different talk shows and stuff, it was actually kind of funny that old Rush brought up this movie with, I think it was Matt Damon, where they do the drilling for oil up in like North Dakota and stuff like that. It's actually called fracking. And so what they're saying is that through this movie, that fracking's bad. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. It's going to destroy the soil. The environmentalists are all over it, and it's just like they're going to use Hollywood to produce this movie that's going to sit there and say fracking's bad. We can't do it. And we're going to have to start shutting down these oil wells and stuff like that up in North Dakota, South Dakota, and even in New York, they're doing it. So, and people are getting jobs. People are getting good paying jobs. I mean, you're busting your ass and you're working your ass off. I mean, especially if you're in Fargo, North Dakota. I mean, my God, you're freezing your ass off, but you're making $100,000 plus a year. So, but now Hollywood's going to come out and depict it as being a bad thing. And so guess what? It's going to be a matter of time before the government comes out and says, well, hey, we're going to have to shut this down. And guess what? Now you just put people back out of work again. But in reality, fracking is not bad. It's actually it's a very safe way of doing it. And it's just like I tell people, we should be drilling our ass off in the Gulf of Mexico. I understand Florida, as you wipe out the beaches and stuff, then you've got the problem with the tourists. But the responsibility factor is that you need to take the responsible action to maintain the maintenance on these rigs. And I know everybody's going to say, well, the one out in the Gulf of Mexico that blew up, this and that. Well, here's something good information for you. That oil rig, when it blew apart, okay, the oil rig itself was, just figuratively speaking, was making, let's say, $100 million a day. Well, guess what? The company that owned that, good old Dick Cheney, went out there. I think it was like 13 days before that oil rig blew up. His corporate went in there and they bought the cleanup company that cleans up oil spills. And it's just like, wow, okay. Well, that's a pretty good deal. Then all of a sudden, 13 days later, you got an oil rig that blows all to hell. You're blowing oil like hell up there. But guess what? If you're doing $100 million a day and you're paying $250 million a day in cleanup, well, guess what? Where do you think the money-making machine was on that deal? So, it's like, hey, there you go. Halliburton. Yeah, welcome to Dick Cheney's world, and it's just like, and this is the thing. That's why everybody says, well, we can't drill off the coast of Florida. Well, in my younger days, I did work on the oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. I met one of the top environmental engineers in Gulf Oil. He even showed me an outlay of the Gulf of Mexico. It is one of the biggest, richest oil fields in the world. It's also one of the biggest and richest oil fields of natural gas. So, and it's just like, people, we can sit there and do this. We can drill it out 150 miles out, not have any problems, keep OSHA or, whichever environmental agency that, actually watches over this, keep them on top of these things. And, then you have accountability. Then you have responsibility, not to mention the fact that, with all the crude oil that we're getting, we're shipping overseas to be refined, and then we're buying it back at an outrageous price. Well, hey, guess what? I can think of Louisiana, Missouri, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Alabama. Why can't we set up some refineries in those areas? Guess what? That's thousands and thousands of jobs, good paying jobs. And guess what? We can bring our oil prices back down to where they're supposed to be. Because if anybody's seen my show before, they're going to know that I told them during the campaign deal, the gas would go down. Everybody would be happy. It's time to go out there and go on that vacation, spend some gas money, and go see your loved ones. Well, guess what? What's happening now? The election's over with. We've got the same idiot for another 4 years and his cronies. And now where are we going to be? Gas prices are slowly creeping up. 3 weeks ago, we were at $2.99. Now we're at $3.39. By the end of the week, we're expected to be like $3.42, $3.45. So, where are we going to stop? Everybody's like, oh, well, hey, we got a break, so it's cool. We can live with it because it was $4 once before. Wait till it hits $5. Then what are you going to sit there and have to say about it?
Well, what I don't understand is, for the life of me, why aren't we? We've got 100 years of natural gas in this country. I don't know why we don't have natural, where you can fill your car up with natural gas. We should be running on natural gas and quit sending all the money to our enemies. And we can do it. I don't know why it's not being done, but it just is beside my. I just can't figure out why we are not on natural gas right now. It's cleaner for the environment, and we have 100 years of it in our land.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've got even more than that. We've got resources that we haven't even touched. My God, we can sit there. We can still burn clean coal. We can still do a lot of different things. We've had so many different, companies that come up and create better ways of gas mileage and everything else that we can do. And it's just, but yet it is all about one thing, money and the greed.
Well, there is some smart corporations out there. I was following a Schwann truck and the other day, and it said operated by propane. Yeah. Didn't blow any smoke, didn't do, and that's, individual corporations that have a lot of vehicles like that, they can set up their own natural gas or their own propane, and so that's what should be happening. And for the life of me, I don't know why it's not going faster. So,
oh yeah, it's just. It really blows my mind because, you got to sit back and you got to listen to all these guys want to sit there and tell us, well, we can't do this because the environmentalists are bitching because, we got to have this over here with government. And the funniest thing about it is one of the things that is going to be considered liquid gold, and it's probably going to happen within the next 15, 20 years, if not a whole lot sooner, is going to be water. And it's just like, people, a lot of this bottled water, think about it. 30 years ago, we didn't do bottled water. It was all about, the water out of your sink, your faucet, and your ice makers and stuff like that. But it's becoming now to where bottled water is one of the biggest businesses in the world right now. Not to mention because, when you start getting into our aqueducts, aquifers, and all the rest of that stuff, and and you start draining that. Well, we're not getting replenished as fast as it needs to be. Even the Great Lakes are slowly being drained by Nestle's, the Nestle's water company that's in Switzerland. So, and it's just like, and this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with. And it's just like, even Bush, senior and junior, they bought up, I forget how many thousands and thousands of acres that have artesian wells underneath them. And, they're bottling water. So, what's going to be the next money making mass, mega money? It's going to be bottled water. Because here's the thing, if you control bottled water and the water sources start to clean out, then what are you going to do? You're going to pay any price you have to pay for a bottled water. So, and it's just, there's so many different things, and it's just, we have to really get our government to get our, to hear us, to sit there and say, hey, look, we need change. We want hope and we want change. We hope you hurry up and get out of office so we can change this disaster that you've created for the past 4 years, that everybody wanted to keep saying, oh, well, it was Bush's fault. He carried it over. So now we're having to pay for Bush. Well, something, 1 or 2 years, I'll let you slide with it. 4 years later, we're $10 trillion more in debt. Our government is out of touch on spending because they don't give a rat's ass what they do. And now they want to take our guns from us. So it's just like, okay, people, just sit back, let them do what they want to do. And just remember one thing that Hitler was good for saying: the best way to take over a nation is to disarm it. So, and guess what? He did that. So, and he was one man that had a hell of a following. Well, guess what? We've got one man that's got a hell of a following. So you kind of like look at the correlation there between the two. And I'm sorry, people, it may be wrong for me to say, I don't see much of a difference, with the exception of Hitler killed hundreds of thousands and millions of people. Obama didn't, but also at the same time, he's still running a war overseas that was set up on political propaganda that I still hold Bush and Cheney for. To me, they're war criminals. I think both of them should be taken out and shot for what they did, because, that was just totally uncalled for, because there were no weapons of mass destruction. Even to this day, they've still never been found. So, okay, what's Obama's excuse for keeping these people over there? Because we had to go find that infamous bin Laden? No. You know something? Our government holds so many secrets that we don't know about. I mean, how would you like to be able to walk out in the middle of your street and sit there and say, you hate the government, you wish this or you wish that? And if you had military personnel, they decided to tap you on the shoulder, put you in handcuffs, and take you to jail, and you're never to be heard from again. How would you like to have something like that happen? Oh, guess what? That is a law. So, you see, the premises of everything is already be set in place. And it's just all a matter of how fast and how far we're going to walk right into the different problems that we're not even known about. We don't know about because we're not being told. It's this so-called transparency government that was supposed to have been brought in for the first 4 years. That transparency went for about the first 6 or 7 months. Then all of a sudden it was closed door meetings. Nobody needed to know. And, my ratings are down. Nothing's going good for me. So let me go get bin Laden. So, and it's like, I knew that was coming. Even the people that I knew, I sit there and told them, I said, watch, in order for this guy to go in there and get reelected, he's going to go kill bin Laden. And it's just like, and then what really makes me mad is the fact that supposedly bin Laden did all this with the towers and stuff, all these people that died. I don't know about you people, but I remember seeing the videos of people jumping out of windows. You could hear the bodies hitting underneath of the ground and stuff, where the bodies were exploding and stuff. I mean, but yet, we got to sit there and we see this, but yet we go in there and we give him a burial at sea to where he's in a covered, because it wouldn't be humane just to dump his body in there because of the Muslim religion. That's just, that frosts my ass more than anything. I mean, even the fact that go on YouTube, look up Obama during his first term, or actually during his first time running for president. How many times did you see him without a lapel pin that had the American flag on it? Many times. How many times did you sit there and see him where he's doing the Pledge of Allegiance and he was sitting there holding his hands together, twiddling his thumb? It's on YouTube, folks. Go look at it. Now if YouTube sit there and doctored it up or something like that, then shame on them. And I apologize. But if they didn't, and that's what's really on there, really, you're going to be a president and you're going to ditch your own flag? You're going to ditch your own national anthem? No. But then all of a sudden, when it started getting into the Democratic Party, going up for the DNC nomination, all of a sudden he has a lapel pin. And it's just, these are the kind of things that lead, that I see. And people, let me tell you something. I'm not college educated. I got a high school diploma. That's the best I've got, and it's just, but I see these things. I see these little things, and it's just like, I also see and I hear and I talk to some of these veterans, some of the veterans that was from World War II, that, these guys went out there and they seen Pearl Harbor. They seen the mass destruction. They seen everything that was going on. And, and our government jumped up. Hey, we kicked ass. We went over there and we beat the shit out of everybody because we were pissed off because we were one with our government. We can't even do that now. We're out there getting our asses handed to us by our own government. I don't see them going in there saying, oh, hey, well, something, we're going to fix this economy. We're going to make the rich pay more. Really? Now you're going to sit there and you're going to penalize people for being successful. I mean, do I think it should happen? No, I really don't. Because something, if you're successful, you should not be penalized. And to sit there and even think that these people are having to pay more taxes, that's a joke because it ain't true. You pass a bill that sits there and says, okay, we can't bail out nobody else because the American public's going to get pissed off about it. So let's help Hollywood. Hollywood. Are you kidding me? You're going to sit there and pay the producers that want to sit there, the makers of certain movies. If they don't make enough money, then they're eligible for a $20 million tax break for a bad film. Actors, they're eligible for $15 million tax break if they have a bad film. I mean, really? I mean, come on. If you want to sit there and do something for the Americans, pardon my French, but nobody gives a fuck about what you're going to sit there and do with Hollywood or actors, because, when it's all said and done and all comes down to it, then let's bring the American people in there. Let's give some of these smaller mom and pop corporations, let's give them tax breaks so that way they can employ 1, 2, 3, 4 more people in their business. Let's give them the incentive to sit there and grow their business. Let's give them some extra money to where they can expand their business. Let's help the economy. Let's do a straight tax all across the board, screw with this other bullshit, and it's ridiculous. We penalize our own people for being Americans. And it's just, it totally blows my mind because I don't see where, any other part of it can do any better. And it's just like, it needs, it really needs to make a difference. So, but I mean, it's just absolutely nuts. Because it's just like, where do you go from it? Do you sit there and move forward? Do you move backwards? What do you got to do? So, but I mean, definitely, it just really, really just totally blows my mind in it to see what all happens. But I mean, even spending of, the wasting of money, you've got this previous Hawaiian vacation, the press is already stating it was $20 million for that Hawaiian vacation that taxpayers are paying for. I think it should be a certain amount of the money should be paid out of the salary, and you should be allotted so much money per perk, as president. There should be like a salary cap of what you can do and what you can't do. And it doesn't happen. We sit there and we've got to sit and watch these other people maintain this crazy stuff that they want to sit there and spend, I don't get it. When do the American people stand up and say, I've had enough? And that's the whole thing. They've got to say that they had enough. They've got to be able to stand up and tell these political powers to be that, hey, this is where you need to be. This is what, you need to do. Let's help everybody. Let's join in as one person and, let's make this country great again. To sit there and see that we're ranked so low in education. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we've got a couple of third world countries that are actually higher in education than we are. I've even sit there and talked to people that sit there and tell you, something? I'm ashamed to be an American. I'm ashamed to see what's turned out, what's happening with our country. And I mean, this is ridiculous. Do we do all we can do to help everybody? No. Because if we did, we wouldn't have veterans. We wouldn't have people that are standing on the side of the streets trying to figure out, hey, I need a food, or, I need shelter, or, hey, for that matter, I need a beer. But, where do we go? What do? People, it's very simple. Get on the internet, get on the phone calls, start calling these senators, congressmen, all these people that are in the political powers that can make the changes and do something better for our country. Get on the phone. Let's start bombarding them with everything we can do. Something, people, because, it kills me to sit there and hear some of the stories that these veterans, these guys that went out here, they risked their lives for something that they believed in. And then whenever they run into problems, it's sad to say, but there's been times that our government turned their back on them. And it's just, I can't see that. These guys are true heroes. They went over there, they followed their orders, they did what they had to do, and yet we're not doing nothing. It's just, it comes down to a point in time to where we, the people, have got to stand up and we have to take care of ourselves. If you sit there, it's like, I see all these major organizations that are fundraising for all these different causes and everything like that. People, use some common sense. Look up those corporations, see how much money actually goes into these things, and see how much money goes into their pockets. If you see somebody that's got breast cancer, don't go buy them a pink shirt. Go give them $50. Go give them $100 and say, hey, if this can make your life a little easier, then go ahead. If you see somebody that, on another thing, if it's, the children that have cancer and stuff, go give their parents some money. Or if you've got a place that they can stay while their kids are at the hospital, lend a hand. It's just, these are the kind of things that Americans, we have to do as a group now. Because do you really think your government is going to bail you out? They're not going to bail us out. They've already proven that. I mean, look at General Motors. Look at Bank of America. When's the last time you walked in to go buy a Chevrolet and somebody says, hey, we really appreciate what you did to let us keep our jobs? Not a one of them. Nobody did. Same thing with Bank of America. I'm sorry. I don't like the bank. There's still a bunch of, I'm sure that there's some good people that work there, but I don't like the policies of what they did. I don't like the idea of how they did their stuff. And it's just, it really needs to make some kind of a change. We have to have change. And the change isn't coming through our government. The change is coming through what we can do as a nation to help each other. We go in here and don't believe everything you see in Hollywood. I mean, because this fracking thing is going to be it's one of the safest, best drilling things. It's going to give people lots of jobs. We got to really push this, stand up to it. Stand up with these guns, stand up for your gun rights, because they're damn sure enough going to try like hell to take them away from us. This was one of Obama's plans that he started in the beginning, and that, he's going to keep pushing, and he's damn sure enough going to try and do it before he gets out. So, and it's just, we can't stay in this situation anymore. We have to definitely move forwards with it. So, but, and it's just like people say, well, you pick on Obama, you pick on this, you pick on that. Well, here's the thing. you can go into any part of Yahoo, Google, Bing, any one of these search engines, and go in there and just look up, stuff that was happening today in politics. It's just like I can look up Yahoo, and it's just like right here. It talks about the inauguration of Obama here, and it's only 7 companies offered to finance Obama's inauguration. So it's just like, it even talks about it. Let's see, is that like in 2009, Obama banned corporate donors for paying for his inauguration, but he was still able to raise $53 million from private donors. Now, he banned corporate donors from paying for his inauguration, but yet he unbanned it so that way corporate donors could pay for his political campaign. Now, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? So, and then it's like, however, this month's inauguration is being held after the most expensive presidential campaign in history, and even with the corporate donations, will be a scaled down event. This year, fewer people are expected to attend the inauguration, and there are only 2 official balls planned. Well, you know something, if the country's in that bad of situation and stuff, then why even do it? You got the second thing. Do you have to celebrate that, hey, I've got, I'm good, I'm the president? I'm sorry. No, I don't think you should. I think you should be getting in there, busting ass, making the changes to sit there and help this country get back on its feet, get back to being number one. And because it's a disgrace to be considered 10th in the world. It's only a matter of time, because it's already been through different economists, major economists that are here in the United States have sit there and said, China will be the number 1 superpower within the next 2 years. And also Japan. So, and it's just like, people, we really got to put up the pace. Everybody wants to sit back and relax and, we ain't got to worry about it. Our government will take care of us. Our government ain't going to take care of shit. So, we've really got to, make a mention to really get going with things. I mean, we've really got to push the envelope. I mean, even one of the other things, it's just that as far as what this thing's talking about, the inauguration and stuff, it even sits there and says that organizers say the ceremonies reflect that the nation is facing tough economic times, and fewer ceremonies will mean less of a burden on Washington's law enforcement and residents, along with other security personnel. Fewer ceremonies? You don't need to have any ceremonies. I'm sorry. You got the election. You know what you're doing. Why sit there and party about it? People are sitting there trying to figure out, 2 blocks away from the White House where they're going to get their next meal. If you're going to do something for, the White House or something like that, go over to the churches that are 2 and 3 blocks away from there and pay for some of the foods that some of these veterans and other Americans that are having a tough time pay for their food. So, and even on the other thing, it's got one of the other captions read, "End of America's middle class, a startling reality." And it's just like, here we go. While some of the companies aren't as well known as AT&T and Microsoft, they're still powerful in their own right. Genetic is a biotechnical company owned by Swiss drug maker Roche, while Streamline Circle is owned by billionaire Obama backer and gay rights activist John Stryker. And Centene is a medical administration company that is profiting higher through Obamacare, reports the Washington Post. Now, do some of these financial people start to take in effect on Obamacare, drug maker, Streamline? I mean, come on, folks. Right there's writing on the wall. That, it's just, now you see who some of your major influential pieces, personnel was that had a hand in Obamacare. So, you've got Financial Innovations, meanwhile, earned $1.8 million in business through making promotional products used in Obama's 2012 campaign, the Post reports. AT&T donation for the inauguration is kind of a turnaround a company whose PAC contributed $5,000 to Mitt Romney's campaign against Obama in September. In addition, AT&T Chairman Randall Stephenson contributed $30,800 to the Republican National Committee last February, reports Bloomberg, making his largest political contribution in at least 20 years. So, and then it's like, however, Microsoft's donation isn't so surprising. The Redmond, Washington-based company's employee donated a total of $435,000 to the Obama campaign, more money than any other company, says the Center for the Research Politics, a Washington-based research group. And this is the kind of stuff. I mean, and yeah, here we go. The inauguration committee hasn't said how much each donor has given towards the inauguration ceremonies, but each person on the list has donated at least $200. However, while donations were capped off at $50,000 in 2009, this year's committee is encouraging individual gifts of up to $250,000. Donations from lobbyists, political action committees, or foreign donors are not being accepted, but yet they were accepted during the campaign contributions. So, and it's just like unbelievable. I mean, you've got millions of dollars that are being set in here. And it's just like, what happens? We still sit back and it's just like, what happens? So where do you go with it? So, and that's the problem. That's the sad part about it, because you got to sit back and, we as Americans, we have to sit back and do this and see what's going to happen. So, but, it's just like, you're kind of like damned if you do and damned if you don't in this world nowadays. So, but hey, Americans need to help Americans. You see a soldier out there, thank him. So anything you can do to sit there and help somebody else. If you see somebody else that needs help them. Do what you can do. Americans need to help Americans. We need to take America back. We need to sit there and have a voice, start making phone calls, start doing emails, anything we can do to sit there and really push the issue and let these politicians know that we're not taking anything else anymore as far as what they want to try and pass out to us, because, this is just ridiculous, so make your voice heard, get on Facebook, anything you got to get on to sit there and have that way of making something happen, make it happen. Talk to your friends, and I'm sure a good thing's going to happen. So, well, we're about out of time today, and it's like, let's see, now we got to sit here and Amendment1Radio.com is proudly brought to you by Talkwad Network. And it says, please check out other shows with the Talkwad Network at www.talkwad.com. So, and it's just like, and if anybody ever wants to call in or anything like that, call in the shows. I mean, heck, there's a lot of decent shows on here. A lot of us switch around. We help other people out and stuff like that. So, check it out, see what's happening, and, hey, make your voice heard. Be the voice of America. And, get something to do. Have you some fun. Because, heck, it's not a hard thing to do. So, I mean, hey, if an idiot like me can sit here and do it, anybody can. So, and it's just like, hey, we even have a talk show over here with Hulk Hogan. So, it's a lot of fun. You can get out there, talk to some people, meet some good people, meet some influenced people, and, definitely have your voice heard. Be somebody. Heck, I mean, shoot, I just do construction. Anybody can go in there and do something. So, have some fun. So, but yeah, so now they're going to drag me out an extra minute here. So, but yep. So we're out of here. So you guys have a good day, and we'll catch you next week.
No matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause.